validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. Earlier than usual, but we're still a half hour late. But y'all know we do not let the sun rise without going live, even though we don't always start on time. So that's why we ask you guys to like and subscribe, and then hit those notification buttons and mash those reaction buttons while you're watching the show. And then if you got the time to go and take a look at the membership, go and take a look at the membership. We have been diligently releasing things every day so far. So proud of that. we're on the ball with that right now. So we're proud of that. Um, there it is. He says he got the notification. He said, I got the notification today. YouTube let you off probation. I'm trying to tell you, they be acting a fool, bruh. I'm trying to figure out how they do. So they have this thing where we're supposed to be able to, while we live on the show, add y'all in there, and it ain't even letting me do what I wanted to do with it. I think it's because I only can do one. I don't know. I've been looking, but it ain't letting me do my thing. Either way, I think okay. So I've been pushing the envelope on this podcast forever. Okay, and I have been diligently um really stretching the fullest lengths of our First Amendment constitutional rights of freedom of speech. Because I cover everything that we need to cover from an educational perspective about how it directly impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. And because we are probably one of the most beneficial, educational, knowledgeable, taboo podcasts on the platform, half the time they're with us and the other half of the time they're against us. So there are days where everything works the way it's supposed to work, and then there are days that it doesn't. So there's only so much that I can do. Now I was trying to see what I can do about this moderator thing, and it is still not doing what it is supposed to do. So technically what I was supposed to do was just click the drop down and then add you in as a moderator, but it only gives me the options to put people in timeout and ban or delete the users, and that's not what I want to do. So I'm just gonna leave things where they are for right now. I'll figure it out eventually down the line, maybe get customer support to give me some insight and they'll be able to tell me what's going on. But to each his own. As it is right now, we haven't gotten any new news since the last time they dropped bombs on Iran. So um, we're gonna keep trying to follow that and give you guys more insight. But being live 7 nights a week, we cover different topics every night of the week. Sundays, questions and comments from the fans. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, business and politics information. Where uh, Monday, we talk about how politics negatively impacts your abilities to make, save, and invest money. Uh, then Tuesdays, we discuss different ways for you to make money, save money, invest money, budget money. Yesterday's thick, thick topic that we had, wasn't expecting it to be so long. I thought it was only going to be like an hour, hour and a half long. Uh, Special shout out to Mr. Stroke, to you, to you, yo. Okay. So um we went through a lot of stuff yesterday, and we kind of went through the core ways for you to evaluate um, different types of brokerage accounts. And we covered a few of them. We didn't go over the entire list because, again, there's like 54 of them that we're watching, but we did coin a few dozen of them. But the rest of them that we didn't talk about are, in fact, in the membership. So there's a full list of all the ones we're watching for the month of June and the month of July. So make sure that you guys take a look at those. Um, Wednesday today, we talk about different countries around the world that we can invest in and potentially live in, potentially preferably cheaper than where we are right now. So, we're going to be covering all of that stuff today, and we cover that every Wednesday. Then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we talk about personal development, personal improvement, um, relationship topics, socialization, negotiations, building your brand. Uh, then we talked about promotions, raises, retirement, uh, and then we give you information about your termination and walk y'all into the reasons why it's so important for you to build your 20 and 30-year plan. Um, Knowing where you want to be at in 5, 10, 20 years and knowing what you got to do today to get there is one of the best and most effective ways to change your decision making skills, because when we were kids with the immediate gratification, it was take action, and then when we didn't like the outcome, what we would do is try to verbally take it back and re-perform in the hopes that we would get a different outcome. Life is not a video game. The days that you make decisions, those decisions impact your future. So once your decision becomes part of your past, there's literally nothing that you can do to correct that. What you have to do now is find out what kind of life you can live where society takes exception to your past, or whatever it is that you've done and whoever it is that you've done it to. It doesn't matter now, because the people who you are affiliating with now will overlook your past decisions. But if you recognize this matrix, then today, the decisions that you're making today should not contradict your capabilities of being successful in the future. That's one of the things that people don't pay attention to. You want to be able to be in a position where you are now capable of being successful in the future, right? And that's one of the reasons why we do this. So as it pertains to tonight's country, many people are dreaming of trading the buzzing fluorescent lights of a 9 to 5 lifestyle with working all day and sometimes all night for a life surrounded by turquoise waters and golden sunsets. There's a life where the biggest decision of the day is which beach to watch the sun go down from, right? This dream prompted an experiment, which is packing up and moving to remote island territories, uh, the Commonwealth of the Nether Marianan Islands. Now, the goal for something like this is going to be a simple challenge to see if someone could actively live the tropical dream on a budget, preferably around $3,000 a month. And we used to cover this at under $2,000 a month to prove a point, but now we're talking about realistically speaking, $3,000 a month or $36,000 a year, still less than a $50,000 a year man is capable of succeeding in certain countries, provided that the income that you have is like digital nomad style where you have money coming in, you can work remotely, you don't have to show up to your daily office brick and mortar business and make your money. But what pretty pictures and travel blogs don't show when we start thinking about doing these things are the investment traps that can drain the savings. And they don't talk about the high cost for everyday things that can shatter a budget in the first month that you're there, which is one of the reasons why if I'm talking to you about going somewhere and living on a $3,000 a month budget, I always advise people to take twice as much as what you think you need. That way you have more than enough to cover the things you wasn't expecting to have to cover. Um, but these things that people don't prepare for, they definitely uh, uh, don't prepare the newcomers for the complex rules for foreigners that can turn a dream of paradise into a bureaucratic nightmare. So tonight's show, we're pulling back yet another curtain. And this is going to be one of the unfiltered truths about what it really costs and what it really takes to live in the Northern Mariana Islands. And before we go further on this, the Northern Mariana Islands are around about the same size, more or less, than places like Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands. So they're not huge um, continents clearly, because the name of the location includes island. So, why the Northern Mariana Islands? Well, when people think about moving to tropical U.S. territories, their mind usually jumps to places like Puerto Rico, or maybe Guam, or even the United States Virgin Islands. Now, the CNMI, for most people, isn't even on the radar. And for many, that is going to be a huge part of the appeal. It can feel like one of the last frontiers under the American flag, a place with its own deep, unique culture, a blend of um, indigenous Camaro and Cornelian traditions with layers of Spanish, German, Japanese, and American history. So it offers the promise of a real adventure, but with the familiar safety net of the United States Postal Service, the US dollar, and for a United States citizen, no complicated visa process to get over there and get things done. He said, don't mention Papua New Guinea, it'll put you to sleep. Look, I'm over here sipping on coffee because that did. I started talking about no, like, Papua New Guinea, boring as fuck. It's a beautiful country from what I hear, but there's not much going on these islands. But it is a good place to go if you're trying to go someplace different. There's what 193 countries under the United Nations, plus a few other uh, places that are not affiliated with the United Nations. And statistically, there's something close to 200 and something countries, or what do you call those? National provinces, or whatever the case may be, sovereign nations, stuff to that effect, that exist, whether they are fully developed or mildly developed. And I'm going to try my best to cover all of them. But the smaller the location, the less shit's going on over there. Especially when it's an island and there's no landlocked. Because see, when you have a small landlocked country, it's easier for them to get resources from outside of the country. But when it's not a landlocked country, when it's all corners are covered with ocean, there's a lot less that can happen, right? So, oh damn, I ran out of coffee. Now, the motivation is often a desire to escape the mainland grid, the traffic, the politics, the feeling of being a tiny cog in a giant machine, and to find a simpler, more intentional life. But look, this journey isn't just for trust fund kids or those six-figure remote jobs. It's for regular people like me and you who have saved up some money and want to see if a different way of life is possible. $3,000 figures isn't random. It's a respectable monthly income in many parts of the United States, but on a remote island in the middle of the Pacific, where almost everything has to be shipped in, it's unclear if it would be enough for a comfortable life or just scraping by. Now, many people have scrolled through Instagram, seen the travel vlogs, and thought, what if? You know, what if someone could wake up on the sound of the waves instead of an alarm clock? You know, this shows for those kind of people. It contains the lessons learned from months of planning, budgeting, and living in the CNMI. It's practical, no nonsense, guys. That's breaking down every dollar from rent to the price of gallons of milk to show if the paradise that we hear and think about is within our reach. So let's talk about those numbers because dreams don't pay the rent. First, and the biggest question for anyone moving anywhere is always going to be housing. Housing usually takes up close to 68% of somebody's income. Where will you live and what is it going to cost you? He said, better than early morning gunfire and junkies arguing. I don't know. I don't know. Is the junkie cute? ah, uh, I'm going to be honest with you. The when it comes down to the observations of like certain types of crime, it doesn't matter what country around the world that you go to, those certain types of crimes are probably going to be there in some magnitude. There are certain types of extremely violent crimes that we have in America that only exist because we have like certain weapons law that allows for us to own certain things that other people can then steal from us and then use inappropriately. Um, but beyond that, it is still common that some of the worst things that can happen to you or to someone near you is usually done by somebody that knows them. Uh, so what we find is that while we talk about the early modern gunfire, that's two people that's not getting along with one another. Junkies on the street arguing. That's one person trying to get something from somebody else that the second person doesn't want to give up. So, that when you look at it from that perspective, like, you're going to probably experience that to some dynamic in a lot of places. It just probably won't be extreme gunfire in countries that don't prohibit guns, but they might be yelling and screaming and throwing stuff. and they might not be two junkies arguing with one another, but it could be two chicken heads that um, will potentially like flip out over something insignificant. Jesse. Special shout out to Jesse. What's up, dude? Got a big convention coming up to endorse candidates. I'm friendly with most, unfriendly with the rest, and I am excited for the political gameplay. Hey, good luck on your campaign draw. Hopefully, everybody that you're endorsing gets what they're looking for, and then hopefully that they can endorse you so that you can get your foot on a higher tier of the ladder of political success. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the main screen doing those press conferences, making changes. Looking forward to seeing that. Um, on uh, Saipan, which is the main island of the Marina Islands, the rental market is going to be a real mixed bag for those individuals that's wondering how much it costs to live there. Because that's what we're talking about today, different countries around the world that we can live and invest in. Recent listings show that a one bedroom apartment in the central area can run anywhere from around $600 to $900 a month. Uh, a lot of people might think that that's dirt cheap in comparison to what the prices that we have in America, where one bedroom places might be anywhere between $900 and $1,500 a month. Looking outside the city center might bring that price down to around $500 to $700 a month. And for a family needing a three-bedroom or a person that just wants a bigger space, the cost could be anywhere between 720 to well over $950 a month for. But for a three-bedroom for as low as $720 a month, that is fantastic. um, He says, I'm considering a nominating speech for a candidate. He is a great guy. It will be almost impossible to win from there. And I have a good connection to other campaigns. So is it impossible for him to win, or is it impossible for you to win? Because I mean, if you're nominating the guy, uh, because I believe that you believe that his views will probably do some good somewhere, and you're nominating the guy. The question is, if he has absolutely no opportunity to win, what are you putting your effort into? Now, the reason why I asked that question is because when you decide to do your nominating speech, instead of vote for him, he's awesome, you actually would tune your speech to the magnitude of what the foreseeable future should look like, where the changes should be, and this guy should be the best guy to make that happen type of speech. Because if it's a losing battle and you're like, hey, everybody who's listening to me, I'm the most influential person in the room. I believe we should see this, this, and this. We should experience this, this, and this. And then after you paint this beautiful picture that everybody would love to see, then you turn over to the guy that you're promoting. I say, I think this guy over here would be the best guy for the job to make that happen. And at that point, you kind of got a soundbite that caught everybody's attention. He says, it is almost impossible for my preferred candidate to win. Mhm. So I've been talking that, or I've been thinking that the speech has to really rock people. Well, if you're going to capture people's attention, people are selfish. So your speech is going to touch on their selfish desires while maintaining factual accuracy and moral integrity. But if you pull on the heartstrings or you pull on the wallet strings and throw some logic and reason in there first, win them over based on the ideology that you're promoting, and then put the guy into the fold as the best guy to do such tasks, that would be a foot in the door method where you would be able to put him over the top because the people will now be attaching a vision to a face instead of trying to find value in the person. Because most people really believe that certain political figures are just that figureheads, that they're not actually people that actually put forth any action to get anything done. So when you're running a campaign or doing a promotion, you should be discussing the results first. And if you discuss the results first and then discuss the person that should bring those results, if they buy the results, they should buy the person that will bring the results. Doesn't always work, but it's probably a better scenario than going off of his reputation alone. Because if he's not, because it is primarily a popularity contest. If he's not winning because of who he is, he's got to be winning because of what he's doing or what he plans to do. So you talk about what you want to see done, then you talk about what has he done, which gives you reason to believe that he can do this over here, and that'll help you guys get a little bit closer to your goals. Michael says, what lies do you stand on? And if you're running? Well, Michael, that's a pretty nifty question. I think there's you're supposed to not be standing on the line, but you could be standing on a morally unethical position depending on who you are. And whether or not you're waving the blue flag or the red flag. He said, I'll give you some updates. We'll be very busy on Friday and Saturday. Well, I look forward to hearing from you Sunday and Monday. um, and then if you got good news, we can talk about it. Now, to make a $3,000 budget work on the Mariana Islands is going to be critical to keep the single biggest expense, which is the housing position, as low as possible. The goal is not a luxury place, but a clean, safe, and functional one. I never knew an honest politician in my life. Well, you never have known an honest, experienced politician in your life. Typically, just like with the police force, just like with the military, certain people might start performing the job with all intents and purposes of doing good things. Then, after they get the job, certain quantity of scenarios that occur that change their moral and ethical compass, and they're no longer functioning for their initial desired goal, and they're now more functioning for their constituents, for the lobbyists, for the extra bonus they got from places they're not supposed to talk about, from scratch my back and push my deal through, and I scratch your back and push your deal through, even if I don't agree with your deal. All of these different things that is completely outside of extortion and blackmail. Like this is legitimate, honest business kind of thing going on. And after a number of years of that, 2 to 4 years of that, you get used to having to rub elbows with the right people and make certain sacrifices that you think is beneficial to the gains that you're going to get. And it doesn't always benefit your constituents, but you achieve certain things. Some people will like it, some people won't, but who gives a fuck? You already got paid. So at that point, it's not about what you said you was going to do. It's going to be about how many scandals you got into while you were there. There's always good news and bad news. We have to enjoy it regardless. Oh, I agree with you, sir. I definitely agree with you. He said, how deep does his hands? How deep does he have his hands in your pockets? Uh, all the way to the tank, bro. It is what it is. It is what it is. So if you decide to go to one of those islands and start trying to find a place to go after weeks of scouring Facebook groups, which is where a lot of the local markets are going to operate over there, and making a lot of calls, it's possible to find a good deal. For example, you might find a one bedroom apartment just outside of the main tourist drag of Garupan that is secured for about $450 a month and an unusually low deal that requires some luck and aggressive searching. Like you really have to know what you're trying to do. So, what does $450 get you for a house or an apartment size? Well, it'll be decent, right? It'll be decent, living area. It's gonna have a small kitchen with a stove, a fridge that has been seen around all the time with better days. He said, Uncle alert. Yeah, Michael be Michael plays devil advocate from time to time on here. Um, but yeah, decent sized apartment, small kitchen with a stove and a fridge that have seen better days. They've been around for a while. Bedroom with a window unit, AC that rattles, and a bathroom with some moody water pressure. You know, such a place often comes unfurnished, representing a hidden cost because without shipping the furniture in, you must either buy new and inflated priced furniture or spend a lot of time on the island uh, looking for buy and sell stuff on some of the island's websites that sells furniture. It's certainly possible to spend more. I mean, a newly renovated one bedroom might go for 700, featuring a modern kitchen, a whisper quiet split AC with a little balcony. But that extra $250 a month is 3,000 a year, money better kept for emergencies or travel, since you're on an island. Now, this brings us to the first unfiltered truth of housing on the islands. Online pictures can be very deceiving. One has to be on the ground to really know what they're getting. There are going to be stories of people writing a wiring deposits for places that were far more run down than the advertisements because I mean when they took the picture of the property it looked a certain way. They haven't updated the pictures, but the property has changed. Things have worn out, things have gone undone, holes in the floor, vines growing up the side of the house, all kinds of stuff. But they didn't update the photos online, they just kept the listing the current. Finding trustworthy realtors or landlords is going to be everything when you're trying to be successful with finding a satisfactory place to stay at an affordable price. But here's going to be the fascinating silver lining. The northern uh, Marina Islands has no property tax. So, with that be said, zero property taxes, something that you got to think about. For a renter, that doesn't mean much right away, but for anyone dreaming of one day owning their slice of paradise on an island, this is a huge financial advantage. It's a powerful incentive that shapes the investment landscape, but as well as what we're going to be getting into later, owning a property in the islands isn't a simple situation the way people might think. He said coconut tax. Go sit down, Michael. Um, unupdated photos is a minor technicality. Shit. You know something, Steven? You look at a house online, you like it. It's very affordable, cheaper than a lot of the houses you've been looking at. You've probably gotten desperate by now because time is running out for you to find a place, and you're still spending money at the same time. You come across a listing. The house does need a little bit of work in the photos, but it's manageable. You believe that you can put up with what you're looking for in the photo, right? If I give you an extremely terrible hypothetical and then a moderately Okay scenario. What if you wired your money to the person, you're paying for the thing, everything's set up. You go to where the house is supposed to be, and it's not there. The plot of land there, maybe even some stairs that goes to the foundation of what used to be a house, but it's not there. It's a lot of grass there. There's no walls. There's no roof. It's just like three or four steps, a couple of pillars that used to be where the base of the house sat. That's it, and some high grass. Now your money is gone. You still got to find a place to go. That's worst case scenario. Best case scenario with unupdated photos is you get over there and you get to the house and then you walk in and there's a hole in the floor, the toilet doesn't work, light switches don't function, AC is putting out a gray smoke, the water coming out in different colors. So, I mean, yeah, the house is there, but it's not what they said it was. Then here's the other part because you say, well, I ain't paying for what I can't see in person. Fine. But you're looking for the house while you're not on the island. Then you're trying to go to the house when you get on the island. When you get to the house on the island, you recognize that the house doesn't look the way it looked on the picture. Now you're already on the island. You don't have a place to stay because this place is unsatisfactory. And now you have to pay inflated costs to book an emergency location, hotel, Airbnb, breakfast inn, whatever the case may be, because you did not get any advance deals for booking the flight and coming over and everything and packaging that into your deal. So unupdated photos might be a minor technicality as it pertains to buying a fixer upper and renovating it, but it is also a huge inconvenience since this isn't where you live. An unupdated photo in America when you can drive past the house and be like, oh, like somebody drove a car through one of the walls since the photo was taken. I'm not buying a house and keep on driving. Minor inconvenience. They haven't updated the photo. But when you fly 40 or 50,000 miles, 10 or 15 hours, and you're thinking, I'm going to settle in this location, you're taxied and drove away. They don't have an Uber on site, so you got to walk now to the nearest civilization. It stops becoming a minor inconvenience and starts becoming catastrophic failure. Now, can you incorporate somebody that's already there to potentially go to these places and make sure that they're more satisfactory? Yes. Can you pay inflated costs for a hotel stay for the first couple of days so that you can get boots on the ground and wander around and find you a place to stay so that you can move out of the hotel into an apartment to rent? Yes, for long term stay. But it is an inconvenience. And the lack of and I'm gonna throw this out there because I always gotta take shots. This is equivalent to the fake hair and makeup and all that other stuff. After everything we thought we was getting, when you take that crusty clown makeup off and pull that wig off, and you go from looking like Miss Malibu Barbie to looking like a Romulan mixed with a Klingon, uh, I'm gonna want a refund. So if you tag the photo and say, okay, this I like the way this looks. I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna get involved. Then when you get there and what you saw in the photo is not what you're seeing in person, you're gonna be very upset. Now, if we can get pissed off at this type of unnecessary, unupdated photo scenario in a person to person interaction in America where it was just an inconvenience to drive there, you can only imagine how pissed off we would be when I'm trying to make a multi thousand plus dollar purchase, get into a long term contract with a seller that has no value in updating the photos. But I do agree with you that if it ain't that bad, I'll deal with it. Because I mean, I know you. You're like, "Ah, it's better than pitching a tent out there. It's better than I'm gonna go out there with a backpack and a build a bear tent set and IKEA fold out campfire equipment. And if the house don't work, I'll just rent the yard out and live in the yard. I understand, bro. I understand. But at some point, you reach age where you get too old for that shit. And when that happens, that's when it's like, now the location must match the photo. Now, once a roof is over your head, the next bill is going to always be to keep the lights on, keep the water running, and in really hot climates, keep that air conditioner humming. This is going to be where the cost of living on a remote island really hits your wallet. I just seen a I'm going to put this out here for everybody who is dealing with high utility prices because of the high fuel prices. I just seen a water bill that said 47.95. Now, who here has seen, no, not a water bill, it was a light bill. That's what shocked me. It was a light bill. It was an electric bill for 30 days of service that said 47.95. Who here has experienced that kind of electric bill over the past 6 months? I'm just weeding it out. I don't know, maybe Michael, I don't know, but 47.95 for 30 days of electricity. Woo! I gotta tell you, it was way cheaper than the 125. And it's because the location has a better setup. But back to this particular scenario, on the mainland, a combined bill might be $100 to $150 a month. Um, a first electric bill alone, if we want to address that, could be over $200, even with careful use. On the mainland, you might find it to be reasonably priced, but on the island, it's over $200 just for the electricity. The cost of electricity is going to be much higher because the power grid relies on the imported fuels, which would also impact increases in the cost of electricity right now. Um, he said in my old city, I had two bills, electric and gas. My electric bill never went over $50. All right. So we got two. You and I both have seen less than $50 a month for the electric bill over the past 6 months. Because I know some people that be like, man, a little 275, 344. The previous person that was here had a gas bill of $287. And I was looking at him like, what the fuck was y'all doing? Cooking people? Like, god damn, that's a big ass gas bill. Last time I seen a gas bill, it was like 65. They said it was two something. I was like, no, I don't know, man. We got to turn some shit off around the day. It's a decent sized apartment as well. Oh yeah, well this is about a 2,500 square feet, so it's pretty decent size. For but I'm used to smaller places like 750 square feet with freaking $120 light bills. So to say they got like three times more space and a third of the light, I was like ecstatic. I was like, what? Because I could have sworn. Oh, but I did go to Timu and I had bought these lights that are rechargeable lights that you can mount anywhere, and they have like the sensor on them, and you mount them. I got to do better about mounting these motherfuckers, but you mount them close to the entryway of the door, and the light comes on as soon as you walk in the room and illuminates the room. You can put them in different locations, and it gives a very good decor of the room. And they only come on when there isn't enough sunlight in the house and you're moving around. So in the evening times, right around sunset, after dark, the lights will only come on when you walk in a room. It prevents you from leaving lights on. It prevents you from walking out of a room, leaving a light on. It prevents you from wasting electricity on the standard light to travel through the house overnight, which reduces the usage of electricity. And then because there's so much outside lighting that comes in, there's no electricity being used in the daytime outside of the computers and TVs and stuff. So I was like, "Shee, I've never seen that." But I think I got like 12 or 15 of those things. And they're pretty fascinating because it takes a long time to charge it, but it does last for a few weeks. So I'm like, I just buy some extras and have a couple on standby so that when some of the lights get dim, I can just rotate them out while I'm working overnight and always have like a whole space full of automatic lights. And 47 now, I'll keep rotating them bitches out. Is that as soon as I left the room, turn the lights off. I was there to shower, charge my phone, and sleep most of the time. Right. But see, none of my lights are on. I got a spotlight for the show, but every other light in this particular room is off, and every other light in this place is off, and every other room has sensor lights that come on. So the lights only activate for 25 seconds when you walk in the room, and they only stay on while you're moving in front of the sensor. And 25 seconds after you stop moving, or 25 seconds after you leave the room, those automatic lights go out, and all the main lights stay off because you don't need any more light because you got plenty. And yeah, I was like, yeah, that's really good for the light bill. I was loving it. But that's a side note while we're talking about electricity on the mainland. Um, Even though they have some recent renewable energy projects that have helped stabilize things, it's still going to be very expensive. But if you're going to those islands and you're going to get involved in some of those renewable energy projects, you could potentially invest in something that can be incentivized for benefiting you with your standard of living and then also turn you a profit. Now, recognizing opportunity zones, you can get yourself involved in a massive uh, construction of solar energy, whether it is offshore solar energy where you're putting solar panels on the water, or inland solar energy where you're clearing some fields and putting solar panels on the island that can provide energy to the rest of the island. So that's an investment opportunity that it's a pain point that turns into a financial profit. Now, a window AC unit is an energy vampire because it's just going to just suck the life out of your pockets. But on a hot, humid night, it's a non-negotiable situation unless you're really, really willing to take a nap in 95 degrees because it gets hot enough in certain places where even with the breeze, it is still hot as fuck. And I know me and Stephen and Michael, we all grew up in a generation with box fans, ceiling fans, open the door and just let the wind blow. But I'm gonna be real with you. In some places that's just not enough, right? So uh you'll quickly learn to use the electricity sparingly. Depending on the quantity of AC that you use, a monthly electric bill can range anywhere from 120 to over $220. Then there's going to be the water, which is going to be more reasonable, usually running about $30 to $50 a month for one person. Now, when you start talking about a family, you start adding 150% for each person. So if it's $30 to $50 for one person, you're looking at 44 or 45 to like 60 or $70 for two people. And if you got kids, you're looking at like $110. It goes up. But again, island life has its quirks. Water pressure can be inconsistent, and sometimes there are boil water notices after heavy rain. I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in an era where we were always boiling water, which is why we started buying bottled water. So if we can't buy bottled water, we're boiling water, and we're boiling water and skimming the film off the top. Letting the water cool, put the water into something that we put into the freezer, let chill out before we put it into the fridge and let it thaw out before we drink it. So we have a whole processing plant in the house where you got three or four gigantic kettles of water boiling. You've got do two or three of them off to the side that are skimmed off and being put into bottles, 5 or 7 gallons of stuff in the freezer, two or three of them thawing in the fridge, one of them already thawed out, and everybody's drinking out of that. That's how life used to be with us, right? But it's going to be a constant reminder of living on a small, isolated system. Finally, there is the modern day essentials, which is internet. Because for anyone who works online, if you're trying to keep making money, make money for you while you're out here, a reliable connection is going to be a top priority. Even when I say I'm going to be taking a podcast to different countries around the world. The countries that I go to, the first thing I'm looking at is how well does my T-Mobile network work out there. And if it doesn't, what type of network would I buy to subsidize internet service while I'm out there? Right. So getting it set up is going to be a pretty straightforward system in order for you to get some internet. And for about $75 a month, somebody can get a connection that's fast enough for streaming and video calls, which works for the podcast. It's not going to be lightning fast fiber uh, of the mainland, and it can get sluggish during peak hours. But for the most part, it's surprisingly reliable. So if we tally it all up, frugal electricity use would average you around $180, which means you're going to be uncomfortably hot and walking around with candles and flashlights the majority of the time. Water is going to be about $40. Internet's going to be another $75, which totals you about $295 a month in addition to the rent just to keep the apartment running. Now, this is going to be the unfiltered truth about utilities. They are a significant reoccurring expense. The dream of tropical breezes is wonderful, but the reality is that for much of the year, someone will be grateful for that expense. Power hungry air conditioners are going to be your lifeline there. Okay. Power outages are also going to happen. It's all about uh, dealing with that part of the trade off. Now, for a favorite and perhaps most challenging part of the budget, food, because I love food. Now, this is going to be where living on a remote island provides a daily lesson in economics. I don't know. Why wasn't I called the doctor of thugonomics instead of John Cena? Because I be bringing economics to everybody. But this is where living on a remote island provides a daily lesson in economics. Okay. So this is going to be where spending can either stay on track or spiral out of control in a moment's notice. You always, even on the mainland, have to factor out the difference between what you need and what you want. A first trip to a big grocery store here can be a humbling experience. Um, Filling a cart with a family brand leads to a checkout total nearly double what you might pay back home. Box of cereal that might be $5 on the mainland can be $9 or $10 on the island. Gallon of milk comes at a premium. Everything that has to be packed, shipped across the ocean, and unloaded onto this island has a hefty price tag to get. Fast food isn't a cheap escape either. Basic combo meal will set you back $12. That is value meal prices at McDonald's. It becomes clear very fast that to survive on this budget, you can't shop the way that you did when you were on the mainland. It's going to require a fundamental change in your relationship with food. Doesn't mean starving yourself, but it does mean shopping responsibly. Now, that means embracing the core principle of the island's living: eat local. Instead of big supermarkets, the solution is going to be small family run roadside stands and the weekly local markets. Here, the whole dynamic is going to be different. You find what's in season and what's growing locally. And there are going to be piles of fresh cucumbers, long beans, eggplants, and fiery local chilies or fiery local chilies. Look now, I'm sitting over here getting hit with the drowsies. Now, tables are loaded with sweet, fragrant mangoes, papayas, and bananas, and of course, fresh fish. You can go out and go fish your damn self. But learning to cook with local ingredients is an adventure. Making stir fries with local veggies, grilling freshly caught tuna, and starting the day with a papaya instead of imported cereal, probably going to be one of the adjustments you're going to have to make. Now, this approach dramatically cuts food costs, but it also requires a new level of planning. Special shout out to OG Kicks. Some days the market is overflowing with certain vegetables. So you might learn to cook three different ways. Other days, significant items is just not there. Resourcefulness is going to be key. And if a favorite brand of cereal is in stock, it's wise to buy two because there's no telling when it will appear again. So, what does the food budget look like on the Mariana Islands? Well, the goal is about $100 to $120 a week, so around $450 a month. This is going to be for one person cooking about 90% of their meals. And this allows for a mix of local produce and fish, plus more expensive import staples like rice and pasta. It's also leave a little room for a meal out at a local spot where a great plate of chicken calguine or beef tintaka costs about $10 to $15 a plate. Now, the unfiltered truth about food here is that it's a two-tiered system. You can live here and spend a fortune trying to replicate a mainland diet, or you can adapt, embrace the local food culture, learn to cook with whatever's on the island, and do it so that you save a ton of money and connect more deeply with the people that are on the island. The island here might be small, excessively small, because I mean the Solomon Islands and Papua New Guinea are bigger. Okay, but that doesn't mean that you can't get by without transportation. Saipan is about 12 miles long and about 5 miles wide. Not that big of a city, but big enough that a way to get around is still going to be necessary. And this is going to be another area where that island tax becomes painfully obvious. We start with a shocker, that ongoing price of gas. While it fluctuates, it's currently higher than the mainland, recently sitting around $4.80 to $5.20 a gallon. So for those that are thinking about buying a car, leasing a car, getting a long-term financial responsibility for a car, you got to prepare for that stickier shock. A new basic sedan can cost you upward of $37,000 thanks to shipping costs. Even a short taxi ride is expensive, easily costing over $20. Faced with these numbers, it's clear that owning and operating a car would destroy a tight budget. Public transportation is extremely limited, so that isn't an option. And that leaves you two realistic choices: buy a used island car or get a scooter and learn how to ride. The island car is a phenomenal scenario, but it's going to be one of those. I was going to say a phenom here, but it's going to be one of those things where they're everywhere. Older sedans and trucks, sometimes held together with a little rust, some duct tape, and a lot of hope. Workhorses of the island, right? They aren't pretty at all, but they get the job done. You know the ones that mom always told you about that she said that your vehicle has soul because it looked like shit, but it never let you down. You ain't never had to tow it nowhere. It ain't never left you stranded, but it ran until the wheels fell off, and then you just put the wheels back on, and it just keep on running for you, almost like a Toyota, right? The catch is that even the used vehicles hold their value surprisingly well because the new ones are so expensive. And if they break down, getting parts can be a slow and costly process because you got to ship parts in from overseas. The other option being that scooter feels right for an island life. It's incredibly fuel efficient, easy to park, and lets you feel the breeze as you ride. A used reliable model can be purchased from an expat who's on his way out. So he's leaving the island, you're coming into the island, you can just buy his. Cost you a few $1,000s. Monthly transportation costs can become tiny at that point. Gas expenses can be as low as $25 to $30 a month at that point, right? In all, the monthly cost for transportation, including insurance and occasional maintenance, should be about $100 a month if you ain't going too many places in a car, if you're spending more time with the scooter. Now, the unfiltered truth of transportation is that a strategic choice must be made. The scooter can be a cheap, efficient, and fun solution, but it is not for everybody. It means being exposed to the scorching sun and sudden uh, torrential downpours where you'll find yourself getting drenched with water. It means not being able to carry a lot of groceries, and it also means accepting more risks on the road. For a family, if you're going there with a family or anyone who needs to commute a long way, a car is going to be a necessity and it is a high cost baked in expense of living on the island. Man, these batteries don't stay charged as much as they used to. I was sitting over here thinking that it's gonna hold me forever, but it doesn't hold me as much as I thought. Give me a second. We're gonna change this microphone out real quick. Give me just a second here. Boom. The whole screen flashes when we reset the mic. But that's why I bought two of them. So $40, two headsets from Temu. I think I had them for like six months or so far, and now I'm switching them out. I'm gonna have to leave them sit on the charge half a night. Um, where were we? So the cars are going to be a necessity, and the high cost is going to be just baked into the expenses of living on the island. There's no way around that. You're going to need a car if you're going to be doing long distance travels. So if we pause for a second, we should have did this here. We're deep into the budget, and we're covered three big things, which was housing, utilities, and food. And this honest breakdown is proving useful to a lot of people. So if you guys are figuring this out while you guys are paying attention with your own tropical dreams, realizing that this is truly possible, I want you guys to take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button, mash those notification buttons. It's free for you, and it's going to tell YouTube that people want more content like this. So we're going to be about to get into the real crucial stuff because we've got another half of the show, which is the investment traps that look so tempting from the outside looking in and the strict rules for staying here long term. Now, this is going to be the information that is the hardest to find, and you're not going to want to miss out on that. Which brings us to one of the biggest and most misunderstood topics for anyone thinking about moving to the island: investments. The dream isn't just to live in paradise. For many, it's to own a piece of the paradise, to buy a home, start a business, build a future. And when you start looking into the CNMI, you'll find things that seem incredibly attractive, but they're surrounded by traps for anyone who hasn't done their homework. The first thing that catches everybody's eye is that incredible benefit that we mentioned earlier, which is no property taxes. Coming from the mainland, where property taxes can be a crushing expense, this sounds like a golden ticket. Someone sees things like the listing for condos with ocean views and plots of land, and the main starts. Uh, 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 the mind is going to start when you're mainly looking at this to race and interpret. Ooh, score! I got this and I got that. But here's the single most important unfiltered truth to understand: unless you are a person of Northern Marianian Islander descent, you cannot own the land, period. This is written into the CNMI Constitution in something called Article 11. No, Article 12, Roman numeral XII. Article 12, designed to protect land from the indigenous camaraderie and the Carolinian people. So for everyone else, including the United States citizens from the mainland, the longest interest in property you can hold is a 55-year lease. And I'll let that sink in for a little bit. He said in the Northern Island is only options of 55. All right. Now, I wasn't expecting that. I drafted this like 3 weeks ago. The 75-page document. On page 44, it says 55-year lease. While I let that sink in, I come over here and look at FX Trader, and he's validating that exactly what I did my research on is true. That apparently you can only lease the shit for 55 years. You can't own shit, but you can have a very, very long lease, right? So, peer reviewed podcast. Usually Michael's here doing that. I don't know where Michael's at today. He's probably painting himself another Mona Lisa because he says he listens to the podcast and paints at the same time. Unless you can come up with a new birth certificate. No, 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 no. See, now the smartest thing for you to do is to marry a native and then put the property in their name. That's the smartest thing to do if you're trying to own a piece of the land, right? Or if you're going to do a foreign domestic business with a local, you marry the local and then have her 60% ownership of the business, and then, you know, have everything run through the business. You personally can't own shit. But I mean, the average person that is like taking their Section 8 money and buying expensive prom nights have absolutely no problem with putting their Bentley and their mansion in their mama and them names. So I mean, they can they ain't no problem with marrying a local and then put it in their name. I don't give a damn who name is on the title as long as I got the keys and I can walk in and sit down somewhere. Because ain't no way you're gonna be able to change your birth certificate. Well, you could, but see the problem is that your birth certificate is still gonna come from the United States. So you would have to deep fake a fabricated birth certificate from their land. And I don't know who knows how to get something like that done. I wouldn't recommend it. But just to own a piece of the island, I mean, that's too much work. Because whoever could pull that off is going to be wanting a lot of money to give you the deep fake documents in order for you to pull something like that, just so that you can live on a piece of land that's tax free. You would save so much money. Either can you get adopted? You know what? That might actually work. I didn't even think about that. Because as long as you're legally related to a local, that kind of fits the bill. So you're not going to buy the land unless you were born there or deeply related to somebody there. You're going to be buying the rights to using the land for an extended period of time. This fundamentally changes your investment opportunities because while a 55-year lease is a long time, it's still not forever. It means that when you go to sell your property, you're not selling your land, you're selling your remaining years on the lease. Now, this is going to be a concept that is completely foreign to most Americans. It's going to be something close to a land trust where they own the land, you own the house on the land, and then you sell the house that's on the land to somebody else, which is where HOAs came from because HOAs own the land that the house is on. You own the house that is on the land, and you lease the land from the HOA. They just turned it into all kinds of other shit with HOA fees and stuff in order to maintenance the roads and all this other stuff that's not part of the house's responsibility in the neighborhood. Um, but this is going to be where people are failing to understand how this operates, and that's going to be one of the biggest traps of all. Because once you get caught up into the situation, getting out of it is not that easy. Then there's going to be the allure of the tourism market, because with the beautiful beaches, half naked hot chicks, tropical climate, investing in a vacation rental seems like a no brainer. But the CNMI economy is dangerously dependent on tourism. So when a pandemic hits, or an airline pulls its route, or a typhoon rolls through, the entire economy is going to feel it. Major hotels and businesses have shut down, highlighting how volatile things can get. You might also hear talks about the United States Opportunity Zones, which offer tax incentives for investors. While this is a legitimate federal program, it's designed for large scale investments, not for someone on a $3,000 a month budget. So, to be crystal clear about that myth, the Northern Marina Islands does not have a golden visa. This is going to be one of the final things we're going to be trying to cover here, or a standalone citizenship by investment program like some of the other countries have. A path to U.S. residency or citizenship must go through the established and often long channels of U.S. federal immigration laws. So there have been scams targeting foreign nationals with false promises of easy visas. So it pays to be very careful. From a practical perspective on this budget, the only investing that should be done is savings accounts. Because for the average person moving to this island, the primary goal should be financial stability, not risky speculations. Just as important as the financial rules are going to be the legal rules. Because how do you actually get to stay on the island long term? This actually gets really complicated. And the answer is going to depend entirely on your citizenship. This is going to be where the U.S. territory label can be both a blessing and a huge source of confusion. Because if we start with the easy part, for a United States citizen, moving to the CNMI is legally like moving from California to Texas. You can live and work here freely indefinitely. You just pack your bags and get on a plane and you're in there. This is a privilege that makes such an experiment possible. However, for a huge portion of the world, it is a completely different story. The CNMI is part of the United States immigration system. And for years, the island has had a special program called the CW1 visa to help local businesses hire foreign workers. But that program officially ended late 2024. We are in mid 2026. This means that if you are not a United States citizen, you can't just move there. A valid United States visa that allows for living and working is going to be required. The main pathway is not through standard United States work visas like the H-1B or more commonly the H-2B for temporary workers. An interesting advantage is that jobs in the CNMI are often exempt from the national caps on these visas. which can make it easier to get a sponsor here than on the mainland. But the bottom line is going to be the same, that you need an employer willing to go through the expensive and bureaucratic process of sponsoring you. Because as we covered on the show before, that these new visas are requiring employees to put up upward of $100,000 down on your behalf for the application process to begin. And the worst part is that if you lose your job, you lose your rights to stay in the country or on that island. So for a Canadian nurse or a British hotel manager dreaming of moving to the island, first step isn't looking for a house. It's looking for a freaking job with an employer willing to pay that sponsorship for a visa. This process can take months, sometimes even years, with no guarantee of success. If you don't have a job coming in that's willing to pay for your visa, you don't have a trip to that island for long term stay. The unfiltered truth about immigration is going to be that it creates a clear and often difficult social divide, because there are United States citizens who can come and go freely, and then there are a large community of foreign workers whose entire lives are dictated by their visa status. Many people have lived and worked here for decades, raised their children here, and call this island home, but still live with the constant uncertainty of temporary work permits. It's a stark reality of life here and a sharp contrast to the carefree paradise image. So we've dissected the budget and navigated the legal minefield. But what is the actual life like living here? What is the community like? And for anyone moving here solo, the big question, what is the dating scene like? Well, first, it's important to understand that the CNMI is a small place. Total population on the entire island is only around 42,000 to probably 40,000, 45,000 people, right? It's about the size of a small American town, but it's a town with an incredibly diverse cultural makeup. Indigenous, Camaros, and Carolinians, Pacific Islanders, along large Filipino, Chinese, Korean, and Japanese communities, plus a small population of mainland American expats. This cultural mix is one of the most beautiful things about living on this island. The overall vibe is undeniably laid back. But the flip side of a small town is that there's very little anonymity. Everyone knows everyone, or at least knows someone who knows who you are, right? Personal business can quickly become common knowledge. For those who thrive on anonymity of a big city, this can be a tough adjustment. Social life revolves around established institutions, family work, and church. The extended family unit is the cornerstone of local culture and community uh, fiestas. In church, gatherings are going to be the main social hub. So, to integrate, you have to be willing to participate and show up. Joining a local sports league or volunteering will open up more doors than anything else. Now, for that dating question, to be direct, dating pool, very small. Just a mathematical reality. You're not going to find the endless swiping options of the major cities. Dating apps exist, but the number of users is going to be limited, specifically because of the rolling blackout. The culture here is also going to tend to be more traditional and relationship oriented with a strong emphasis on family. And this can be great for those looking for a serious partner, but for those seeking a casual dating scene, it's going to probably be very disappointing. Relationships often develop organically through mutual friends and community involvement, not um, one time engagements and random hookups. So, the unfiltered truth of the social scene is that it is going to be a trade off. Big city variety is lost, but the potential for a deep, tight knit community is gained. Building a social life takes effort. You cannot just be a passive observer. For some, this environment can feel isolating. For others, it's the supportive, genuine community that they've been searching for their entire lives. So, after all of this, let's get back to the original question. Can you actually live in the Nether Marianan Islands on $3,000 a month? Let's look at the real numbers for a single living a modest budget comfortably with rent at around $450, utilities and internet around $295, food at $450, scooter at $100, and the essential monthly cost coming to about $1,295. When you subtract that from the $3,000 monthly budget, that leaves you with about $1,705. So the answer is going to be yes. And if you wanted to spend a little extra money and get closer to $950 a month for a three-bedroom and go from paying for a car to going from paying for a scooter to paying for a car where you might be upward of $200 a month, you would be adding about $600 to your overall budget, which would still put you at around $1,000 to $900 left over. So, which gives you a lot of money for emergencies and a little extra spending money to upgrade your meal plan from something simple to something a little bit more exotic. So for a single person, it is absolutely possible to live here comfortably on $3,000 a month. But, and this is a very important big but, that remaining $1,700 isn't just play money. It is the money for everything else. It's going to be for your health insurance as well. It's going to be for the emergency. It's going to be for sudden root canal or a scooter repair. It's going to be for savings. It's going to be for the most critical things that will get you off the island. Uh, the funds that's gonna like come get me funds. The money for a flight back to the mainland to see family, or for a vacation to Asia to escape the rock fever that eventually sets in. For couples, that $3,000 budget would be much tighter, and a family that is not used to that. Um, Hold on, guys, because what I was about to say is, if you had a family, it would be a lot tighter thing to deal with, and it would be more difficult to handle a budget under $3,000 a month. So King asked me on a Wednesday if you wanted to, you'd have did better talking to me about this on Tuesday, uh, Nate. So you asked me if you had $100,000, what would I invest in? And I have a list of stocks going across the top of the screen. That is what I would invest in. All of the stocks that are going across the top of the screen. And if you would like to know how I would divide the proportions of each one of those stocks, if you join a membership and then go and look at the high octane cash generating growth stock portfolio that I created, there's about 17 or 18 key stocks involved in that. That is purely cash dividend stocks that also have growth potential, that are also some stocks that are tax deferred or tax exempt based on the new tax laws, where you would likely, depending on how much you invest, be able to occur closer to 15% return on investment off the entire portfolio, um, or at the very least 12%, if you're dealing with the numbers balanced the way that I had given to you. So hopefully that helps you out. And actually, when I did the the spread in the membership, it was based off of $100,000 portfolio budget. So $13,000 here, $10,000 there, $4,000 to $6,000 in certain areas, and divide the money up, and then rebalance based off of the dividends that you receive, which would generate you something closer to $843 a month, which is really close to like 90,000 a year. So yeah. um, if that helps, if that helps. Or not 90,000 a year to be really close. With 100,000 at about 15, you'd be getting not 90,000, you'd be getting closer to about 15 or 25,000. That's probably what you'd be getting close to be more specific. We're crunching the numbers off the top of my head. But if you want the detailed rollout, you should go look into the membership and then scroll back to some of the days where I put that up there, and you'll be able to see it. I have some new lists out there about stocks to potentially look for, and if you're interested in investing them, you can come for those as well, and then um, you'll see lists that are going in from yesterday. We just covered this topic yesterday, so that's something that you should take a look at. But I appreciate you jumping in and asking that question, Nate. Now, the unfiltered truth of living in the CNMI is going to be that a life of beautiful contradictions is going to exist. The sunsets are breathtaking, but the cost of cereal is going to be breathtaking too. The community can be incredibly welcoming, but the rules for outsiders are going to be very strict. So you're going to have to become a local very quickly or acclimate as effective as possible. Is going to be a place that rewards patience, resourcefulness, and a genuine willingness to adapt. Is that worth it? For many people, the answer is going to be yes. A qualified yes, a yes that comes with a detailed spreadsheet, but a yes nonetheless. The stress of the mainland is going to be traded uh, for a different set of challenges. And in return, one is going to gain a new perspective, slower pace of life, and more than a few spectacular sunset photos. It's not the paradise seen in the brochures. It's something more complex, more challenging, and ultimately more real. He says, I'm living off the land if all else fails. Hunting and gathering all day. Well, shit, if you living off the land, you don't need no AC. You ain't even gonna be home. You gonna wake up at the crack of dawn and you're gonna leave the house with your fishing pole, your net, and your Bowie knife, and you're gonna stay going until you get you some grub. Then you're gonna find you a place to build your campfire. You're gonna cook that grub while you're out there. You're gonna be living the life of Goku. You're just gonna leave the house, leave Chi Chi at the house. You're gonna go out. You're gonna fish, cook, eat, nap, fish, cook, eat, then take some food home for Chi Chi. And then Chi Chi gonna be wondering where the fuck you been all day. And you're gonna be like looking for dinner since breakfast. And she gonna be sitting there with Gohan talking about something you should have took your son with you. Nah, that's all right. He bad. Right? But it's still a thing to do. It's still a thing to do. Um, out of all of the islands, I'm gonna be real with you. Indonesia and Vietnam, we're like up there. I've seen a lot of South Korea on a lot of the K-pop movies that I watch, but at the end of the day, you know, I think Philippines is still gonna be number one on my list. Can you fish for dinner there? I mean, yeah, you can fish for dinner there. I doubt that anybody is going to tell you that you can't get on a boat and leave the island and come back with fish out of the freaking ocean. It's not like fishing in your own backyard. It's not like fishing in the city pond. It's not like you gotta have a sports license to go get your own stuff the way we have it on the mainland. I mean, there's thousands of miles between you and the mainland for you to stop somewhere and pull some shit out of the water. What international fishing laws in the United States prohibit you from offshore fishing for like five fucking fish? We're not talking about like a whole bag of fish. We're not talking about like 40 pounds of fish. We're talking about five fish for one person, 10 fish for a family of four, something like that. Because you're thinking about all day long. If you're really good at fishing, you might be able to catch 12. But who's carrying a ice chest with 12 fish in it on the back of their scooter from the water back to the house? Not too many. A lot of people are probably going to have like two or three of them wrapped up into some stuff and tucked away in a backpack, and they're going to zip back to the house. cook it up and eat it. Thailand has some cheap real estate. Yes, it does. Thailand has it. Japan has it. And over in Asia, they don't have prohibitions on foreigners buying their land. They have a lot of properties there that are super cheap, where all you have to do is pay the property taxes, and you own the house. You got houses that have been uninhabited for 30 years and are still in excellent condition. You have a lot of houses there that's been abandoned for 20 years that are needing a lot of tender loving care. You've got some houses that are able to be renovated and then sold for 250,000 US dollars, or bought and lived in and still buying it for 70 to 250,000 US dollars. But while the cost of living over there is still going to be a third, 30% of the cost of living in America, two of the concerns that you have to have is that the further away from expat areas, the less people are going to understand you. You're going to have a dialogue issue there because very few people speak your language. And if you do not acclimate and learn their language, it is going to be hard for you to navigate because they don't have a bunch of stuff written in English all over the place over there. While English is the dominant language for business, street signs and everything to that effect is not going to be written in English. So how the hell are you supposed to know where you're going? All right. You're going to have to get you a woman, a Thailand person, a Taiwanese, and have her be your tour guide. Malaysia and Indonesia as well. Yeah, but they all gonna have to say that. Then you've got the. Oh, you say you could buy you could buy the translation earbuds off of Temu. I was planning on doing that one day to see how well they work, but knowing what they're saying and knowing what to say is going to be the problem. Then when you're traveling by yourself, knowing what the sign says when nobody's talking, you have to read the billboard that is hieroglyphics to you. If you have somebody translating for you on a regular basis, or at least talking to you so that your translation headphones can translate that, you're not going to know where the hell you're at or where you're going, right? But yeah, even those like Malaysia and Indonesia or other places that you can go to, one of the concerns that you have with that is going to be the steep visa requirements, because a lot of those Asian countries are requiring you 72 to 75,000 US dollars of annual income for digital nomad visas. Now, starting up a business might not be as difficult to get a visa, but I mean, you're probably spending 350,000 or more to start up a business from the ground up where you're hiring two locals in order for them to sustain that particular type of endeavor. Otherwise, you're popping in on a tourist visa. Philippines is so far the one of very few countries that will take you in with like a $2,000 a month income and give you permanent residency or long term renewals where like it rolls over into the next one instead of you having to leave the country and come back kind of thing. Steven says speed limits and traffic laws are made to be broken. I will treat them like signs in the States and just ignore them altogether. That is not what I'm going to do. At least not in Asia. Maybe on the island, be like, fuck it, catch me if you can. Be zipping all over the island until I run out of gas. But you take your ass over there to Asia with that bullshit, they're going to, oh, well, some of them might deport your ass real quick if you break too many laws. But from what I found out is that there's areas in Asia where they're very strict on the rules. So something as simple as jaywalking, you'd be put in a slammer real quick. They got rules like don't eat on a train and stuff to that effect, like no eating in public and stuff like they're really enforcing that stuff. So one of the reasons why the place looks so clean and everybody's so cordial and respectful is because it is aggressively ingrained in their core upbringing. So in order for us to be proud of how they behave and wish and long for that type of behavior, we have to recognize exactly how strict their culture really is in order for that to be their natural behavior. Because if you recognize the irresponsible behavior of the Western culture in America, because we don't have that strict expectation in our culture anymore, you understand that as strict as you think the America could be, you understand that going to Asia and other countries where the rules are going to be a lot tougher and the consequences for the violating those rules is going to be a lot tougher. So I don't even see myself driving. I see myself paying somebody else to drive. He says, Xander, compound with multiple houses full of students coming. So if you go to I think it's Nagano or Nagoya, and I've been sitting over here thinking about this for a while. If you go to one of those places and then you go buy you one of those apartment complexes that hasn't been renovated out yet, you buy that, you renovate it. It's going to be probably reasonable for you to pick it up, but it's going to cost you a hell of a lot of money to renovate it. But once you get it renovated, right? And down the street, you got another investment. You've got like restaurants and like a strip mall or something like that, where you got certain local businesses that needs employees. So what you do is you have your standalone businesses set up there, restaurants, massage parlors, all this other stuff, right? Then you have the apartment complex. Now you rent the apartment complex to the employees in that establishment, and now 68% of their income goes into your rent, which means that you actually benefit twice, because you get good labor because they have a higher work ethic than Americans, and then you get some of your money back as the tenant lives on your property. And you guarantee that they have a job because they work for you. Your landlord is also your boss, right? Um, then there's other scenarios like hotels and having the people who can't afford to pay their rent be the people who work in the hotel and clean everybody else's room, and there's all kind of ways that you can work that stuff out. And when you're building the kind of industry where the locals are running the business for you, you can actually get paid for that. There's government incentives out there. Then there's also the understanding that certain things you can actually create a training program for that, and then teach somebody how to teach everybody else how to do it. And now you've got yet another money making scenario out there. So yeah, you can actually have multiple apartment complexes or multiple flats, houses style scenarios with multiple roommate situations where students come in, they rent from you, they get jobs, you teach them how to do things that they wouldn't be otherwise taught in their schools. They pay you for all of these services, and you can turn a shit ton of profits. But not too many people think about these things. A lot of people think, I got to go to work because my boss put me on schedule for tomorrow after I asked a day off 3 weeks ago. And that's what people do. He says boundaries are going to be tested because if I can't speed down the street with two guns, I'm gonna have eaten the McChicken, blasting kid and play. I won't feel at home. Well, I don't know if you're going to be able to be on an island with two guns on your lap. I think that if you had a chicken, it wouldn't be a McChicken. It would be a live chicken that you haven't cooked yet. You might be able to blast some kid and play or some new kids on the block. And I doubt with the compounded traffic that there'll be a lot of opportunities to speed that would not lead to you going off road and into the ocean on your bike. But I do believe that you would be able to test the limits of your fear factor to try that stuff out. Because while your McChicken is wearing a motorcycle helmet so that you don't brain the chicken before you get it back to kill it and cook it, the fact is there is enough stuff going on out there where you're not gonna want to cause the kind of conflict that'll put your ass in jail. Michael says, and have a company store where they can spend money. Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Okay, so here's the thing with those apartment complexes. They have multi-level buildings where you can put convenience stores and other such stuff in the apartment complex, laundromats and everything to that effect. So like America might have a five-story apartment that is just apartments. In Asia, they will have like one floor, like maybe the first floor and the second floor is all businesses, and then the third, fourth, and fifth floor is all residential. So you can leave your house, go downstairs, go to work, never leave the property. Go downstairs, further, go shopping, never leave the property. Go back up. You might even find a financial institution where you can cash your check and go back upstairs and never leave the property. right? It is there is possibilities that I've seen a lot of them, especially in Hong Kong with those kinds of setups. So yeah, you're right. He said instead, pay. You can have the company tokens redeemable at the company. You can factor that in as part of their pay. That way they're getting less. Um, I have some videos from Hanoi showing a new modern apartment for rent. Rent is like $300 a month. I have not covered Hanoi. I don't know where that's at yet, but I'm going to do some research and I'm going to see what I can do about covering that country. So here's the thing. There are a lot of cities inside of countries and countries inside of continents where the rent is $300 a month. But that $300 a month price sometimes comes with dilapidated or non-satisfactory living conditions. Is this Cyango? Yeah, now I cover Cyango, but I don't know where Hanyo is because I have not researched Hanyo. I've researched Cyango. So if they're next to one another on the same island, I didn't cover that city. But I did tell you earlier in tonight's show that there are some areas where you can get under $500 a month for a one bedroom apartment um, away from the mainland. But the lower quality of the apartment is going to be a thing. And then even when you have a reasonable upscale standard of living or modern middle class standard of living on those islands, you're going to be experiencing the rolling blackouts. We had that conversation with Cuba as well, that there is a upper middle class standard of living that you can have, but it's not short of its problems. There is a reasonable in Papua New Guinea and in I can't remember the other countries that we were Kazakhstan, Belarus, and other such small areas where the rent is dirt cheap, even in the better standard of living areas, gated community style scenarios, security guards, and all this other stuff, but rolling blackouts. So you don't have guaranteed internet, you don't have guaranteed utilities, you don't have guaranteed anything over there. Special shout out to Jamal. Good to see you, Jamal. So it is hope you're doing well. Oh yeah, we're on the back end of things. We actually was here for the last couple of hours, so we did good with covering the spread today. So what we look at traders is the price of convenience and the inconvenience of price. The cheaper things get because you can, and we used to cover budgets that were like $2,000 a month. It's possible in a lot of these countries, but when you start getting cheaper, you start dealing with less commodities, you start dealing with less satisfaction. You go from having easy accessibility to your own portable flushable toilets to having to walk down the street to a public bathroom kind of stuff. You go from having your own personal shower to having to walk down the street to a public shower. You change from having a in-home kitchen to having to go down the street to a local convenience store for them to give you bento boxes and stuff. You make a lot of sacrifices when you start trying to get the really dirt cheap places. Okay. Jamal says Vietnam is a beautiful country. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. We were talking about we were talking about the Northern Mariana Islands, but we were also segueing on. We had a straw man topic where we were talking about the other countries in Asia and South Korea that are very beautiful to go to. But the cost to get through the door with a digital nomad visa is almost like $75,000, which is a lot higher than what a lot of people's income is. But the average person making like 40, 50,000 a year can make it into the Philippines with no problem with that with a low income. He says best country to visit in Asia are going to be Vietnam, Thailand, and Malaysia. Okay, so I haven't covered Taipei, but I've talked to a lot of people from Taipei, and I understand that Thailand and Taipei and Vietnam, Malaysia, and Hong Kong are some really beautiful places to go. But Hong Kong is just as expensive as New York, and that's one of the reasons why like we try to cover a lot of the countries and a lot of the continents, and But it's been a while since I covered some islands. So I said, let me cover some of these islands. Let me find some islands and cover some islands. And that's why we're covering the islands today. But I'm still, even though I've done a lot of research in a lot of places, I'm still like, I think I put my anchor down. I Christopher Columbus this Filipino journey that I'm gonna put myself in on, because yeah, it is again a third of the price of the cost of America, and you got the family oriented traditional lifestyle over there that doesn't exist in America anymore. So um, and a lot of people in the Philippines has a really good tan. So that's good for me because I got a really good tan. He said, "Yeah, Hong Kong is expensive just like the United States. It's a beautiful place to go, but it's just extremely expensive. I'm not in New York and would not want to spend the money that it would cost to be in New York. I'd visit, hang out for an event, probably stay there for a weekend maybe, but like to make that a permanent place of living, no. Places that I'm avoiding the expense of is places like New York and California. Expensive is for no reason it's so expensive. Is that these countries have a better infrastructure than the Philippines? They do. But I'm not going to the Philippines for the better infrastructure. I'm going to the Philippines for the family oriented culture. Because here's the dynamic. Trader, have you ever in your life done a scavenger hunt for food where you would go to one restaurant and get one item, go to another restaurant, get another item, go to another restaurant, get another item, and make your own meal? Because if you have, then you understand where I'm coming from with this. I would leave from America, go to the Philippines, get the kind of traditional wife that I'm looking for, then go to a place like Japan and live that good life. Because Japan is like $8,000 a year. The only downside with doing it that way is that since I don't have a Japanese wife, I would not get the free child care. Right. But the infrastructure is not what I'm going there for. Because if I was going someplace for the infrastructure, I would be in places like Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, something like that. You know what I mean? Seoul. I'd be going to Seoul. I'd be going to South Korea. If I was going for the infrastructure, but I don't. As a tourist, I would go to different countries to visit and observe their infrastructure as a tourist. But if I'm trying to build the type of retirement life that I want, I'm about to like you said, that's five dimensional thinking. I'm trying to say, well, because think about this. I already have fully established residence in America. So I can go to another country, find the right person, bring them back to America. I can also go to another country, find the right person, go to another country with that person. Now I've got a partner helping me build businesses and stuff like that in other countries, and then still come back to my current location in America, where for her, she's traveling the world with a foreigner. For me, I found somebody that's not going to get on my fucking nerves that can aid me in being successful. And for us, both of us is going to be in a different country doing stuff that I would not be able to accomplish with a Western person. That's just the full totality of the situation. Japan is expensive too. If you stay there for a while, you'll get depressed. No, 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 no. So you go to places like Nagoya, Nagano. You go to the outskirts, Osaka, and you build up a business there, and then you leave. That's the reason why I'm telling you. Like I was not planning on like, oh, I'm gonna move to the Philippines. No, I'm gonna go out there, long term stay, find the right person, go to Japan, long term stay, establish a business, maybe go to Thailand, long term stay, establish another business. You know what I mean? And then take my ass back to America while I'm getting paid from other countries. That's what. And the thrill of spending 1 or 2 years in another country, building businesses, and then coming back to America and being able to say that I went there and now I have capital gains from multiple countries around the world. That is uh, uh, the retirement dream that I got going on right now is I want to take my niece and nephew to Tokyo Tower and Cat's Island. Now, I want to go to Tokyo to drift, not for the tower. I don't think I'm going to be able to get away with that, but that's what I want to do. I've seen they got the little Mario Kart things going on out there, so I might be able to drift in one of those. Hokkaido is a nice area to visit too in Japan. Okay, we're going to be checking that out as well. So if you ever go to Japan for a visit, I advise you to go to Osaka or Hokkaido. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Osaka was one of the places to go live mid to long term, establish a business. They have incentives over there. Nagano and Nagoya are good places to go. They have incentives over there. I didn't see anything about Hokkaido, but they should have some incentives over there, especially for establishing small businesses and hiring locals to run the business, generating revenue. So I would be traveling. I would, honest to God, be the protagonist from GTA 6 after you beat the game, just traveling the map, establishing businesses and collecting money. That's kind of what I want to do for my retirement. Set it up, let it run, and come back just to get paid. Don't stay for long in Tokyo. Oh no, I wasn't. I'm gonna be real with you. I got my tan is too good to stay in certain countries. I understand that as a foreigner, the nostalgia and novelty of my presence at first is highly welcomed by all countries, well, not all countries, the majority of countries around the world. But I also understand that once they get used to you, there is still a systemic concern that every country has that isn't favorable to my very awesome tan. Therefore, I don't see myself having a legacy in those cultures where my children would get treated as bad, if not worse, than what we get treated in America. That would be my thought process. Now, would I teach my kids about international things? Of course. Every country is different. Be open minded, accept a lot of the difficulties of the locals, but putting them through concerns like not being like all the other kids because your tan is permanent and everybody else is spending thousands of dollars to paint their skin whiter than Michael Jackson. I don't see myself like saying that's going to be a permanent place to be. Long term place to end up, maybe, but not permanent place to be. By the time kids are old enough to go to school, they're going to be in a different country than that. Because I was told that in Japan, a person must try to avoid seafood because it is radioactive. Is that a fact? I do not know. But what I do know is that you have to be careful in every country that is not your native country when you're eating their food because you don't know how they prepare their food. You also do not want to enjoy any food that is not properly cooked because some of the food in some of the countries have bacteria and parasites in them. And if you eat that food, especially if you eat it a lot, you end up with those parasites in your body that doesn't get digested. And I have seen videos of people who have had underneath the surface of their skin extensively large quantities of creatures from the food that they ate in the muscles of their body that is unable to be removed as a side effect of consuming the local cuisine. Now, I'm not naming any specific countries that this has happened to because I don't have all of the details, but I do know that one, seafood all over the world is starting to become a problem because of the increased quantity of mercury, all of the oil issues that we have in the seas. And we've even seen like it's not like the red tide or whatever, but they I don't know what they called it off the coast of Florida, but there's some shit in the water off the coast of Florida where if you go into the water with an open wound, a flesh-eating bacteria will not make that a pleasant experience. So going into the water off the coast of Florida is not advised in America. So you can imagine how shit is in other countries that does not have whatever it is that we got, even though a lot of other countries have better healthcare than we do. Some things are just not worth doing. So stick to what you know. Don't be trying to be fancy. Raw octopus and all of this other shit. If it came out the ocean, it better be cooked thoroughly. You know what I mean? No medium rare steaks or no shit like that. It better be well done or medium well done. It should less than 20% of the meat should be pink. It should be dark. It should be my complexion when it hits your plate. If it ain't my complexion when you hit your plate, it ain't cooked enough. Is it how do you want your meat to look like me? I want if it don't look like me, it ain't safe. Yeah, you have a point. When it comes to food, India has the highest rate of food poisoning due to their lack of hygiene. Well, I don't know about that either. I just know that if you're not used to the area, you're not going to have the immune system that fights off that type of concern. And since you don't have the immune system that is capable of fighting off that kind of concern, you got to be careful with what you eat when you go eat what you eat. So while I discourage people to go to another country and just eat McDonald's all the time because that's just a waste of time, at the same time, I also encourage people to be careful about the not familiar foods that they eat in other countries because since they don't know what's in it, they don't know how it impacts their allergies if they have any, and if they don't know how it's made, they don't know how it will impact them in digestion. So you want to kind of have thorough communication with the people that are cooking your food so that they can reassure you that your food is being thoroughly cooked. You want to investigate your food the first couple times you eat it to make sure that your food is thoroughly cooked, and then you want to eat in moderation and make sure that that stomach issue isn't from the food that you ate. That's going to be one of the things that I would recommend for everybody. You said, have you heard of chakra? Yes, the key key um the energy in the body that flows through the body and stuff, and certain things can block that key or that chakra. Yeah, I've heard of that. Either go to Nevada, you can't eat the fish you catch, mercury in the water from mining. Oh, what the fuck am I going fishing for if I can't eat the fish that I catch? They try to fuck out of you going. All the hell and damnation out of putting the catching the damn fish. I pull it out of the damn water. I'm gonna cook it mercury and all. We gonna have to strain this. Other country have different McDonald menu items. Right. Because if you go to Miami, you can order a value meal with a beer, but you can't do that in all. In South Beach, they sell alcohol in the drive-through, but you can't do that all over the place. You know, depends on where you go. Shock. Oh, a type of food, Walton. I haven't heard of the food. I heard of the spiritual energy thing. Chakra is a type of food that they serve in India on the streets that is made of crushed red ants mixed with eggs. See, now this is why I talk to you guys about talking to the cook about the food because you put a plate in front of me and think I'm going to eat it. And when you tell me what's in it, I'm like, no. I can tell you that I've had escargot about 10 years ago. Yeah, I understand that that's fish eggs, but it tastes like garlic butter. But when you come and tell me crushed ants mixed in eggs, I'm okay. I don't even want to try that. I don't even want to try that. I don't care if it's a delicacy. I don't care if it's a fine cuisine in this country. What I care about is I don't eat ants. The only time that I believe ants should be part of a diet is when the CIA is feeding you the food. That's the only time I believe that ants should be part of your diet. Outside of that, not a now, not a time should ants, dead or alive, be incorporated in your digestive tract. It just shouldn't happen. He said, yes, Stephen, in the UK, you have different items in McDonald's. There's a lot of stuff going on out there, right? It's wild. It's crazy. So I am going to be going to different places, and I am going to be trying to take a look at what they got on their menu, and I am going to be asking them what's in it. That's going to be like the first thing I do before I eat is what's in it. Before I ask you to cook that up for me, what's in it? Where'd it come from? You know what I mean? I'm not just going to be like, ooh, how much? Oh, it looked good. How much? No, 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 no. What's in that? I'm going to have to learn how to say that in every native language in every country that I go to. What's in that? You know. Um, And that's going to be another reason why you go get a Filipino woman because they speak like 5 or 7 languages. So, they might speak 3 of the languages in Asia while you're out there, which prevents you from having to pay for a translator. 'Cause I'll be the guy who will be seeking the golden arches when I travel. Oh, man. I just got to go to the local stores here in America just so that I can ask the person at the register how big is their arch. But when I go over there, they should be like, "Oh, I know you. You're on that podcast," you know, and then offer me an arch. Uh, pun intended. Um, Now, all the information I gave to you guys today is just one analysis. So on our way out, I want to give you guys some information because this is the time to hear from y'all. Because based on the real numbers that I gave you guys, could you see yourselves making a move to an island like the Northern Marianan Islands? What would be the most surprising cost discussed today, or one of the most surprising costs that you have experienced before when you've traveled? I want you guys to take the time to drop your comments into the comment section. Drop your thoughts there because a lot of people are going to be reading them, and then if you guys are serious about exploring what it takes to trade your daily grind for the island life, you got to make sure that you guys, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscription button, like and subscribe, because some of the upcoming videos that we're going to be having over the next few weeks will include the top 5 things that I wish I knew before moving to places like Sapia. You're going to see some of those things on the show coming soon, and you don't want to miss any of the stuff that we cover when we're covering some of the upcoming islands and some of the upcoming countries, cities, countries and provinces that we talk about. And then when we start going there, we'll be like, "See, I told you," and you go like, "Yeah, he did say that. He did say that." So that's all I got for you guys for tonight. We got a lot of stuff set up for y'all for the rest of the week. I am still releasing a lot of content for the remainder of the month of June, and you're going to be seeing that all of June and a majority of July is already filled up, and you're going to start seeing the majority of August getting filled up as well. So we're moving quick. We're getting everything set up, and then you're going to start seeing like the largest majority. So by the time daylight savings times hit, I should be able to start it at the top of the hour because everything is going to be set, including the script. So outside of me in the middle of traveling from or to somewhere, shouldn't be a reason why by the time daylight savings time hits that I'm not ready to start the show at the top of the hour, 5 minutes after the top of the hour. That way I can incorporate procrastination time. We're going live. But with that being said, I want to thank you guys. I want to start off by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you, ladies, to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you this information to help you guys become higher value men, not just by increasing your finances, but also by increasing your decision making skills. Reminding you on a daily basis to make sure that you find the things that are inside of your control that you don't like and proactively put forth the effort to change those things, then navigate around the things that you don't have control over, which gives you a better standard of living. Um, Without having to be a multimillionaire to love the life that you have, right? Because you can have a modest life that you love that is stress free instead of having a financially lavish life that is stressful. You know what I'm saying? And then, ladies, while this is a male driven podcast for the male's perspective, you too can make yourselves higher value women by proactively figuring out what you want to see your end result. Because notice when I talk to you guys about my 20 and 30 year plan, I'm telling you guys like this is my vision. I want this incorporated in. I want that incorporated in. And that requires me to go here and accomplish this first and then go there and accomplish that second. And this is how you build your 30-year plan, because how much does it cost? $2,500 to get to the Philippines. How much does it cost to stay there? $4,000 to $6,000 a month. How much would it cost to take a second person with me from the Philippines? Double what it costs to get in there. If I'm going to another country, I got to get a passport for them as well. So when you start thinking about, oh well, now I'm traveling in a group. I started traveling single, then I started traveling in a group, and then when I'm traveling with a group, and then my co-host was coming with me. So so now it's the three of us, or the four of us, or you know what I mean? When you start incorporating all of this stuff into your 30-year plan, that's going to cost X, Y, and Z dollars. So proactively reincorporating exactly all what you got to do to get there. That's how you ladies are able to make yourselves higher value women, because you know where you're going to be at in the future. If you're factoring in the possibility of a partner doing this with you, you are going to have an availability for them, right? That doesn't mean that you're depending on them. That just means that if somebody wanted to accompany you on this journey, there's a spot for them, right? Now, when you're able to do that, you're able to pay attention to the drive and ambition, the personality and characteristics, the morals and ethics and integrity of the person, and their capability to achieve their own 20 or 30-year goals, right? Now, if their goals and your goals align with one another, then y'all have a mission that y'all can achieve together, where two people can reach your goals faster than one. Two people can make it to $1 million faster than one. It is what it is. But that requires both of you to have long-term satisfaction goals and not short-term gratification goals. If one of you is only dealing with short-term gratification and the other one is dealing with long-term satisfaction, the money wasted now is that let's go streaking us. Enjoying the chat. He wants to go streaking in the chat. So yeah, like I was saying, if you're striving for long-term satisfaction, short-term gratification is going to compromise your ability to succeed. It doesn't matter if you're the one that's doing the short-term gratification or the other person. You guys were always going to have beef over, if you're trying to save and the other one's trying to spend, you're going to have beef over the fact that you can't save what you want to save because the other person is spending. Because when the other person spends, there isn't enough money to go around, which forces you to subsidize what needed to be paid for, because what was paid for came out of the money that was supposed to pay for what needed to be paid for. Then if you're the person that is trying to live for short-term gratification, you're going to be beefing because you're going to feel restricted by the other person micromanaging your ability to spend, because you wanted to get the things that allows you to make life feel meaningful today, and the other person is trying to make life better for tomorrow. So you guys want to be on the same page. That's the only way for y'all to be successful, especially long term, right? Now, with that being said, special shout out to OG Kicks, FS Trader, Michael, Steven, Jamal. I really appreciate y'all putting in y'all 2 cents. Special shout out to Jesse Talks Truth. I really appreciate y'all for coming to tonight's show. Thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate my personal command.